This is really important, so please listen to it. It is actually really important. In 2019, Special Counsel Robert Mueller finally wrapped up his investigation into whether Donald Trump somehow conspired with Russia. Unless you are very young, you probably remember this. Now, this is a headline from Politico. Mueller finds no Trump-Russia conspiracy. A lot of people were really upset by this because they expected Robert Mueller was going to be a superhero who would take down Donald Trump through this report. And these are the news stories that came out of the report. Mueller finds no Trump-Russia conspiracy from Politico in the U.S. This is from NBC News in the U.S. Mueller finds no proof of Trump collusion with Russia. Attorney General Barr says evidence is not sufficient to prosecute. CNN said Mueller did not find Trump or his campaign conspired with Russia, and also did not exonerate him on a separate issue of obstruction of justice. Similar from the AP, Mueller finds no Trump collusion, leaves obstruction open. I'm sorry, I know you have a short attention span and you are impatient, and I showed you 4 news articles with similar headlines. You're going on too long. I'm out of patience. I get it. Still, I insist to you this is important. I watched this entire press conference that Robert Mueller gave. It was brief. It was very pointed. He gave his conclusions and then he walked away for good. So these are the news headlines that came out of it. And Donald Trump, of course, used no collusion as a rallying cry for years. He said there was a witch hunt. He was persecuted. There was no collusion. But Trump said, I am exonerated. And then all of the regular columnists and pundits in the media, the commentators, discuss Trump being exonerated. But Mueller explicitly said he couldn't exonerate Donald Trump. He just didn't find sufficient evidence to prosecute Donald Trump. Do you understand the difference there? He didn't find evidence that showed he didn't conspire in some way. He just didn't find evidence that showed he did beyond a reasonable doubt, okay? But there's something really much more important. When Mueller gave his press conference, that was the first point he made. The second point he made, he emphasized very emphatically, and it just wasn't discussed in the news media very much. It did show up primarily in some non-US news media. This is from The Guardian in the UK. This was the point Mueller said he took away from his report, and that all American people and all American institutions must understand and do something about beginning immediately. He said the U.S. is still unprepared for Russian election interference. He issued a warning to the people of the United States of America, both in his report and in a book that he published afterward. He said the U.S. is still not prepared for inevitable Russian attacks on its election. And he wrote, it is evident that Americans have not learned the lessons of Russia's attack on our democracy in 2016. What happened in 2016? What we know happened is that Donald Trump won the election. What Robert Mueller is saying happened is that Russia attacked our democracy by attacking our election systems in 2016. Put those two facts together. Okay, everybody was focused on collusion or no collusion. And Robert Mueller said, don't focus on that. Focus on election integrity, because the Russians did interfere, and they interfered specifically to get Donald Trump elected in 2016, guys. If you don't fix this right now, it's all over. It's game over. He said, as we detailed in our report, the evidence was clear that the Russian government engaged in multiple systematic attacks designed to undermine our democracy and favor one candidate over the other. The candidate was Trump, who at that time beat Hillary Clinton. But Mueller was saying, that's in the past. The election with Clinton was in the past. Going forward, if we don't do anything about this, U.S. elections will be compromised by the Russian government. He said, "We were not prepared then, and despite many efforts of dedicated people across the government, we are not prepared now. This threat deserves the attention of every American. Russia attacked us before, and they will do so again." That was his warning leading up to the 2020 election and all elections that followed. As always, the press was focused on Trump and no collusion after that report was issued. They pretty much skipped over the whole part about Russia hijacking our elections. Now, this is from NPR in September of this year, about a month and a half before the election this year. A Mueller investigator says Russia interfered in the 2016 election and also in the 2024 election. And this was published 6 weeks before the 2024 election. It was happening in real time. Okay, so takeaway. Russia wanted Donald Trump to win in 2016. Russia definitely interfered with the election in 2016. Donald Trump won the election in 2016. FBI special counsel investigated the election and said Russia interfered to make Donald Trump win, and he won. America, Russia wants Donald Trump to win, and they will interfere. They are interfering right now. Do something to stop it, or else they're going to get Donald Trump reelected, guys. 6 weeks before this year's election, NPR reported, "Hey guys, Russia is presently interfering in our election to get Donald Trump elected." And then Donald Trump was elected. These are just facts. These are just facts. Now, I discussed this in a private message with somebody, and they asked me, "What are you saying? Are you saying that the press is in on it?" No, I didn't say that. I didn't suggest that. I don't really think that. And as I told this person, I have zero idea what any person's intention ever is other than my intention. I don't ever suggest anybody has specific intentions to do anything because I don't know what motivates any other person. All I know is what is observed and documented, and that's it. So speculating about intention, it's a futile effort. It's not a fair thing to do to anybody. However, something I observe and do not speculate about is that Donald Trump is the conductor of a symphony, and that symphony is the American press. He points in one direction, and those instruments play. He points in another direction, and those instruments play. He waves his hands around wildly, and the symphony erupts in a bunch of distracting noise. They always follow his lead. So, if an FBI investigator calls attention to the system being compromised, corrupted, and Donald Trump screams, "I've been exonerated," well, the press follow Donald Trump. They follow his lead, and they talk about him allegedly being exonerated. They do not follow the lead of the FBI investigator and say, "Our elections are compromised." They don't do that. They follow Donald Trump. That isn't speculation. That is observation. This is really... I have to respond to this comment. I put up a video discussing Bob Mueller's report on an FBI investigation of Donald Trump potentially, or Donald Trump's campaign potentially conspiring with the Russian government or agents of the Russian government. Bob Mueller in 2019 reported, number one, he did not find sufficient evidence of conspiracy to charge Donald Trump. Number two, he didn't find sufficient evidence to rule out some kind of conspiracy. But number three, and most importantly, he asserted, actually he urged the people of the United States of America to realize, to acknowledge, and to stop Russia from its intended interventions, interference with U.S. elections. He said, Bob Mueller told the American people, Russia interfered with the 2016 election. Russia did so with the aim of getting one candidate elected, and that candidate was Donald Trump, and Russia fully intended to continue doing that. Bob Mueller warned that if the United States government and the people of the United States do not take his warning seriously, then that could, he implied, be the end of U.S. elections. Now, the story you're looking at here is from approximately 6 weeks before this year's election. From NPR, National Public Radio, Mueller investigator says Russia interfered in the 2016 election and in the 2024 election too. Okay, I need to point something out. This is fact-based information that was reported publicly. This is not speculation. And this is really important and significant to me. A lot of people are sharing and commenting, and a lot of people are asking me, oh, what do you think they did about this? Who do you think is doing this, and what are they doing? I don't know. I'm not presenting speculative information. I'm not engaging in collective fiction writing or storytelling. That's not my interest. I wanted to remind people that Robert Mueller, in his report, which most people only remember, Donald Trump said the report acquitted him of collusion, which it did not do. But that's pretty much the only thing people remember or paid attention to in Bob Mueller's report. Bob Mueller himself said, the important thing everyone needs to hear, understand, take away from this, and act on immediately is that Russia intended and continues to intend to corrupt United States elections for the specific purpose of getting its preferred candidate installed as president of the United States. And that person is Donald Trump. And that is it, period. Okay, this is not a writing prompt for me or for anybody else to come up with wild theories about what that all means right now, okay? But it is really vitally important information for people to have. Now, as to the comment I'm responding to, the commenter wrote, Russia interfered with the spread of misinformation via bots. We do not have evidence to show that they interfered with our voting machines, etc. Important distinction or important nuance, the person wrote. Okay, what you're looking at on your screen right now is a wanted poster published by the FBI itself in 2016. 11 men wanted for Russian interference in the 2016 election. What were those men wanted for? Conveniently, the FBI tells us. This is what it tells us. On July 13, 2018, a federal grand jury sitting in the District of Columbia returned an indictment against 12 Russian military intelligence officers for their alleged roles in interfering with the 2016 United States election. The indictment charges 11 defendants, and then it names them here. These are the charges: a computer hacking conspiracy involving gaining unauthorized access into the computers of U.S. persons and entities involved in the 2016 U.S. presidential election, stealing documents from those computers, and staging releases of stolen documents to interfere with the 2016 U.S. presidential election. The indictment also charges these defendants with aggravated identity theft, false registration of a domain name, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. 2 defendants are charged with a separate conspiracy to commit computer crimes relating to hacking into the computers of U.S. persons and entities responsible for the administration of 2016 U.S. elections, such as boards of elections, secretaries of state, and U.S. companies that supplied software and other technologies related to the administration of U.S. elections. So, to the commenter, this is all fact. This is all information disseminated directly from the government, and this goes really far beyond bots on social media accounts. Just for the record.